There's probably two kinds of lost sleep. There's lost sleep where something happened on a night or a weekend and you just can't stop until the job's done. There was a few cases when I worked at an MSP where there was a vulnerability and we saw customers that were actively under attack, and we had to just work mitigation until the job was done. And that means maybe working in shifts. But if you know that something is bad and it's bad right now and it's 9 p.m., that means that you're probably not going to be able to sleep until you take care of it anyways. So sometimes that's just, it comes down to, I can't sleep knowing that there's somebody, something going on that's bad. When we work over hours, that's more expensive for your customers. When you work after hours, that might mean that you're already cleaning up a relatively bad situation. So, I think a lot of times that experience just leads to you to, be more informed and to help your customers make better decisions, because, we can't eliminate all of that risk, but there's a lot of cases where different strategies, different investments, different, methods of dealing with, business cybersecurity hopefully heads that stuff off. So I think that's kind of the thing that I've learned is speaking from that experience to try and convince people that, hey, let's not wait and see what happens, because I can tell you what happens and it's not good. One particular case that I've seen over and over again is the classic, I lost my cell phone, dropped it in the toilet, whatever, dog ate it, kid took it, whatever, I can't log into my email now. So, okay, we'll bypass MFA so you can log in. And then nobody goes back and make sure that user got a new phone, MFA's turned back on, they're back protected. And then without fail, that person's going to get an email compromise. Maybe sometimes we as humans don't always want to be honest with, others in terms of maybe we did a thing and then in hindsight we're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have clicked that thing, or maybe that probably was a malicious email, or maybe I shouldn't have sent those gift cards or whatever. And I think that there's a lot of times where we think that maybe it was fine, maybe it wasn't, I don't know, but I'm not going to tell anybody, and it's being forthcoming with your actions, what's done is done, and a good IT team should, in my opinion, in my experience, be supportive, even if a user comes forward and says, hey, I did a thing, I think it was wrong. I'd rather know now than, an hour or a day from now when stuff gets, all crazy. I think in some ways, the best thing you can do is a long-term thing, which is identify, environments where you can be successful. In the short term, I think that, something that's good for everybody to keep in mind is that we can only do what we can do. There's always things in our lives that we need to do that we don't accomplish 100%. And we have to kind of just identify, what things we can let go or delay or defer and what's going to happen, So I think that that's especially true when it comes to, cybersecurity in some cases is a very organized process, but incident response in a lot of cases can be, battlefield triage, where there's a bunch of really bad things that are broken and injured and on fire. And you have to kind of, focus on one thing at a time. That means the other thing is actively exploding, but you've got to just work as a team and try and do your best. Identifying teams where the team isn't able to be successful, trying to find somebody who can maybe mentor and help you with, as you get into this career. There's certainly a lot of classes and certifications that you can get. In my experience, those kind of only get you so far. Getting the real world experience and getting a person who's experienced to kind of help you and guide you and give you advice. That's there's, you can't put a price tag on that. And, if you are somebody that's experienced, it certainly helps as well to, grow the future of this industry by finding people that, that need that mentoring and that can help, be the next generation of that. I think one of the big things about Blumira and SIMs in general is that what we're doing is trying to detect the precursors to that really bad stuff that happens. In almost all cases, when you have, you call it ransomware, a data breach, what you have there is a number of days or weeks where an attacker is poking around to find what they can do the most damage with. The 3M moments is often the really bad thing happened. And now we've seen the 6 steps that happened before the really bad thing happened. So you hope with Blumira is that we're showing you, the increasing level of threat that happens as an attacker gains a foothold in the environment, identifies your most valuable resources, that kind of thing. So, one of the ways to avoid those 3 a.m. moments, of course, is to hope that the early warnings, catch things and give you a chance to stop the threat before it becomes bad. The other thing, of course, I think is also having that automation and having the ability to cut things off in stream, isolating endpoints when we see signs of attacker behavior on there. So even when you're not working, hopefully Blumira is still there, able to work for you and stop some of that stuff from happening.